All right, Daniel. So you are doing an amp class. Where did this come from? Why are you doing it? What's the story here?
Yeah, man. So I guess there's two primary reasons. For years, when I'm out at trade shows or at our dealers doing some of that or clinic, people often say, "Oh man, I could never do what you do," or "Oh, I would always love to build my own amp." Some people say, "Oh, I could never do it," and that's just crazy. It's a skill. It can be taught. It's just like anything else. And before I got into this, I was an educator for 10 years. So I just wanted to be able to share my knowledge. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's just gonna be a really good event where people can widen their knowledge on what amps do, how they operate. And then hopefully this will give them the confidence to repair their own amps or possibly build future amps. So it's just about uplifting the community.
Awesome. And I love that. You said that you were an educator for 10 years. How long have you been building amps?
Yeah, so I've been building amps close to 20 years now.
Cool. So that makes you what, like
I'm
50,
old,
60? I'm just kidding. So for someone that's not tech savvy or has never built an amp and maybe feels a little reluctant to come to the class, I mean, it seems like this big, mysterious thing. What would you say to them?
I would say if you break anything large into small little pieces and going in sequential order, it's actually not that difficult at all. And we'll be able to guide you each step of the way. Every part of the class is measured. And first of all, we're going to start with we're not just going to jump in with a soldering iron right away. We're going to talk about how amps work, breaking them down into their basic sections, basic operations. We're not going to get into any weird math or equations or anything like that. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it light and fun, but you're going to learn how to read a wiring diagram. You're going to understand the basics of schematics, and then the sections of an amplifier and what section does what, how it operates, and how they all interact together. So if someone is a little bit overwhelmed, please let that be my problem, and I promise you I'll be able to walk you through this.
Awesome. Love it. So do I need like any prerequisites or like prior knowledge or anything?
Absolutely not. In fact, in some ways, I think it's best that people come in having virtually no soldering skills or lead dress wiring skills, because kind of the thing about it, like as someone who's self-taught at guitar, when they go into a guitar lesson, sometimes the teacher has to undo things that the student is doing wrong. And this way, we're starting you out in the right way. We're going to learn the basics of soldering, the basics of lead dress, which is the wiring, how it goes, the best ways to approach grounding, and then component placement, layout, topology, all of that stuff. So you don't need any previous experience. If you have previous experience, we're going to elevate those skills, but certainly, we're going to take you every step of the way.
Awesome. So I mean, like, speaking of like soldering and components and all that stuff, like, do I need to bring anything? Do you have all the soldering irons and all like the tools and stuff?
Everything will be supplied for you. You literally have to just bring a good attitude and an open mind. We did float this out on Instagram, and I did get several messages of, can I bring my own soldering station? Can I bring my own multimeter? Of course, you can bring anything that you want if you're more accustomed to dealing with those tools. But even if you don't have anything, we will supply everything for you for that class.
Awesome. So I know you said we're keeping it simple. So what kind of amp are we building? Like, are we going to be getting like, are we going to be making a Granville, or like what's going on here?
No. So we're going to keep it real traditional. Everyone, is familiar with and at least has some appreciation for the 5E3 Tweed Deluxe. And it's a very elementary build. We're going to be able to cover all the basics with it. There's no fancy bells or whistles. And it's just something that it takes pedal platform. It's a great pedal platform. You can crank it up and get some good crunch. It's just a really versatile amp that I think if you don't already have one, every player should have one, and they can build their own now.
Awesome. So that being said, what makes this kind of, I guess, different from other amp classes?
Sure. Yeah. So there are a few other companies that offer amp classes, but so far as I know, we are the only amp class that's run by a current manufacturer of amps. And I think that sets us apart. But the real unique selling feature of this is we're not just building a vintage era 5E3 Tweed Deluxe. A lot of the other people that build, they use vintage spec components, which while they're fine, there have been modern enhancements to just things. Like, for instance, we're not using the fiberboard that they used in the 50s because that can warp, it can crack, and it will eventually disintegrate. Also, they use a cloth covered wire, which is vintage, correct, but we use really high quality PVC coated wire. We're going to elevate the components. So what they used back in the 50s was fine, but they're just better operating, better sounding components. We're going to beef up the transformers. We're going to beef up the capacitors, the resistors. So we're really elevating the entire circuit. And then also we're going to talk about mods that you can do to the 5E3 to make it really unique to whatever you're wanting. And I don't believe any other class has those options.
That's sweet. So,
and let me one more thing, you can pay an upcharge and get a custom faceplate with your name, your logo, your signature, any design of your dog, whatever you want for an extra small upcharge. You can do that, and I know no one's offering that.
That's awesome. So we're going to be learning how to build the amp, the mods. What all are we learning here? I feel like there's a lot. So like, what is the breakdown of everything that we're going to learn?
Sure. So ultimately, we're going to start with how amps operate. So if you've ever wondered how a power transformer does what it does, why it's needed, we're going to start with that. Then we're going to go through the circuit, look at where your signal is going through. We're going to look at what the output section do, how the tubes come into play. And then we're going to actually get into the build where we're going to put the chassis together, install the tube sockets. Then we're going to populate the turret board, which is made actually out of Garolite. It's a far superior platform to place components on rather than fiberboard. It's sturdy. It's 700 resistant up to 700 degrees. I mean, they use it in NASA stuff. So we're going to be doing that, and then component placement, lead dress, how to solder, and then ultimately troubleshooting and getting your amp up and running. So we're really going, soup to nuts on this one. So it's going to be fast paced, but it's going to be measured, and it's going to be very thorough. If there's any questions, people can obviously ask throughout it, but it's going to be a good group environment.
So really quick, is this just like an amp head that we're building? Are we doing it with like a combo? Like,
we're going to go with a combo for this time around.
I'm getting like real classroom vibes.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we're going to have a classroom presentation set up with a large screen to kind of go through the tutorial parts of it, and then breaking things down. So you're going to be able to see me do it. Every single part, you're going to have an example there that's already been done. And then I'm just going to be able to go from station to station, because again, everyone's going to have their own bench with their multimeter, their soldering iron, your screwdrivers, ratchets, that's the whole 9 yards. So I'll be able to teach a little bit. And then once everyone is doing that building section, I'll be able to go, myself and my partner, Graham, are going to be going through table by table just to make sure everything's good and be able to answer any questions.
We're going to build some amps, man. Am I missing anything?
Well, the last thing I wanted to at least offer is that if someone is flying back, we have no problem keeping your amp, taking it back to the shop in Asheville, and then we can box it up and ship it back to you, because I wouldn't want to check an amp, and I don't know if anyone's going to fly out a road case. So if you're flying in, we can absolutely have you covered on that front.
Sweet. Well, hey, dude, this sounds awesome. Sounds like it's a great deal. We're going to get an amp out of it, going to learn a lot. Great price.
Gonna
Yeah.
make some new friends for sure.